Nova by Samuel R. Delany. That's the book we're reviewing today on the channel. Welcome back, everybody. If you are familiar with the channel, you'll maybe remember I published a video a few months back called 3 Books for Sci-Fi Beginners. This was one of them, along with Robert Silverberg's Downward to the Earth and Verne Vinge's Fire Upon the Deep. This one, I think, being a classic space opera and being a very, like, I would say, like, it foreran the cyberpunk genre a little bit. William Gibson's talked about how this was an influence on him. I think that this book was way ahead of its time. I think that when I read it, I didn't realize the significance of its themes, its history, its the fact that Delany, it was his first published work. Was nominated for a Hugo Award, published in, I guess, 1968, and then a 1969 Hugo nominee. The novel it's a, like I said, space opera, classic space opera. It takes place over a span of different planets and different time periods as well. We follow a captain of a ship called, it's not Triton. It's a planet that they visit. What is the ship called? The Caliban. It's been a little while since I read this, so forgive me. I'm going to try to recall details as specifically as I can, but, you know, I'm just trying to give you a wide overview. I'm gonna not spoil anything as best I can, at least early in the video. We follow a captain named Lork von Ray on the ship Caliban, and he, at the beginning of the novel, is recruiting people to go on a journey to go recover a substance in a collapsing sun called Illyrion. Essentially, think of it like, you could think of it like Spice and Dune, where it's a very valuable substance that essentially dictates power and wealth in the galaxy. And there are 2 warring factions that are led by 2 different families. Von Ray, our main character's family, being on one side, the Pleiades Foundation, I believe, and then the Red family. Sorry, there's bugs out here. The Red family, which leads the Draco organization. And those 2, think of them as corporations that are butting heads, trying to create a monopoly on Illyrion, this substance. Von Ray, we get different flashbacks of his growing up, where his family hates the Red family hates his family, and they're both wealthy and both they both have different motives for why they do what they do, as far as controlling Illyrion. And Von Ray essentially has this feud with the Red family's son, Prince, and also has kind of a love interest slash feud with Red's or the Red's younger sister, Prince's younger sister, Ruby. Those are kind of 3 of our main characters. Von Ray, his recruited band of people that follow him on this ship, his crew members, there's a whole collection of them. Very cool cast of characters in this. We got the mouse, we got Catton, the writer, we got Ty and Sebastian, a couple more, I think. Delany did such a good job in this novel of making the characters not only read believably, but be so wacky and strange that they have their own flavor, their own. They're not written flatly at all. They're super. They're just they're palpable. You really can't experience who is saying what at different times, and because it's space opera and there's a lot of moving parts, that's a tall task to keep you on track with characters, motives, places, things, that are happening in the plot, and then on top of that, trying to divulge deeper themes. And I think that's one thing that kind of went over my head the first time I read it, was some of the deeper themes. I read this later in the 25 book challenge that I did. But so I had some experience with the genre at this point and the time period of the genre. But I think the themes of mythology and space colonization and stuff, upon like reflection and kind of reading other people's thoughts on the book, helped me understand that those were things that I missed. The I thought that the ideas that Delany comes up with in this book, for being only 25 years old and giving us a an absolute powerhouse of a novel, um, early in his career, is just, it's kind of astounding when you think about it, because there's a lot of other writers in this genre who, whether contemporary or whether have passed on and were writers from the golden age, uh, I don't think they had their their best works starting off. I just, in general, you don't usually do that when it comes to art or writing or anything that's creative. But Delany, he just knew what he was doing in this book. I truly think that all the way up until the very end, literally the last sentence of the book, and if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil, but he just had this. He had a hold on this novel. It didn't ever get away from him. Um, the prose are beautiful. There's this machine in it called the, it's like the synethax or synth. It's a strange word that uses like the word synth as its the word synth is in there, and think of it as like a flute that, I always thought of it as like a flute that like creates images and smells and visuals and sounds, almost like a little like holographic concert of sorts. And the mouse plays this instrument of sorts, and the prose that he describes when he's detailing those scenes are just, clearly he was so ahead of his time, and was very talented from a young age. I'm kind of meandering about my thoughts at this point. So as far as plot goes, I'll get back a little bit to it. When the Red family, Prince and Ruby, learned that there's this collapsing star and this gigantic 7 tons of Illyrion to be harvested, there's essentially just a race for that. And we learn with flashbacks of why Prince hates Lork, the main character, and why there's all these like background feuds. And I think Prince is written as a pretty good villain. I think the really controlling, weird relationship between Prince and Ruby, brother and sister, is eerie and creepy, because you could just see this like, it reminds me a little bit of the relationship in Game of Thrones with Cersei and Jaime Lannister, where they're just not talking about all the behind closed door stuff, but the on the surface they're like obsessed with each other, and that's kind of what you get here. Is, I think Ruby knows that her brother is kind of a psycho, that Prince is a villain, he's evil, and he's just not a good guy. But and she kind of, I think, is torn between, she likes Lork, especially early in the novel when they're younger, but is conflicted by that, and at the end it really um, ends up costing her. And I like the ending a lot. I think it's one of those tales where it it doesn't have necessarily a happy ending, but I think I gravitate towards those types of stories that end ambiguously or end in sort of the hero um, martyrs himself or something. That's not what happens in this story, but those kinds of stories that aren't necessarily just they lived happily ever after. This doesn't have a an ending that I think will satisfy every reader, but if you catch what Delany is doing from the start to the end, very poignantly, the last sentence being kind of the the period on the end of that, for lack of a better way of saying it, uh, it's really cool. I like, just as soon as I finished, I get to the last page. And this isn't the copy I read, by the way. I have this copy because I want to complete that set with Triton and Dahlgren and stuff. But you get to the last page, you read that final sentence, and I just remember being like, I just started kind of laughing. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" I guess I didn't see that coming. I tend to think that I'm kind of a dumb, naive reader because themes that other people seem to pick up on throughout reading experiences, a lot of times they go right over my head. Um, I don't know if that says more about me or about the types of books that I like, because I like difficult books. And again, I go back to it. This isn't a difficult book, but for a beginning sci-fi reader, if you give it a try and you're like, I don't know what's going on, try something else. But if you're interested in space opera, you want to see where the genre really, really not peaked, perhaps, but this is one of the best space operas that you could find out there. I think that's all I got to say on this. Delany's great. I can't wait to read more from him. I have a copy of Triton. I think I have the Einstein Intersection. I got a couple books that I could pick up from him. Might try some short stories from him as well, but he really impressed me with this book. It's a really well written space opera. I'm super glad I read it. Short read too, just over 200 pages in this one, so you can maybe not fly through something like this, but it's not a gigantic time investment. So yeah, that's been Nova. I guess other news, I just recently had a birthday where me and Luke, as you do, go out and bookshop, indulge a little bit. So I'll have an upcoming book haul from my birthday that I'll upload here soon. That has some really fun stuff. We went out yesterday when Luke was in town to my favorite bookshop here in KC, Steele's Books, and found some awesome stuff. So stay tuned for that. I'll be wrapping up the 25 book challenge here soon. Sometimes I almost had one of those moments where I said two words at once. Shortly and soon came out as shoon. I'll be wrapping it up soon. And yeah, if you've been sticking with me throughout this series, I really appreciate it. I know that there's some really cool stuff on here. And so, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.